You say you're fine, but I can see right through. You're holding your secrets for way too long. This can't keep going on. With every lie, they keep on hurting you, getting away with everything they do. This can't keep going on. Oh, we're gonna find them, and I'm gonna fight for you. They better start hiding. We've been running with the lions, lions. We've been running with the lions, lions. They can't run, they can't hide. We won't stop until they're down. We've been running with the lions, lions.
Hello, everybody, and happy Sunday. Welcome to another episode of Gloves Off. And for those of you who are new to the show, I'm Dr. Kalpana Sundar, and I'm your host. The show is something I've been doing since February, and it's one of my favorite points of my week, just because I get to sit down and talk to interesting people and really deep dive with them. To be honest, I've actually interviewed people that I've already known on some level, but after the interview that we've done on this show, I feel like I know them in a whole different way. So every week I interview a guest, and it's somebody who has shown up authentically, has done something courageous in this world, and you know what? Just does something different to change the world. And that's what Gloves Off is all about, because it's about dropping your ego at the door, showing up authentically, and doing something that creates real change and impact. So this week, I'm so excited because I have my second international guest. I have interviewed Wolfgang von Jerome, which I never say his name right. I always say it like it's French, and it's not, it's German, but whatever. This is how I know how to say things. But I've interviewed him twice on the show already. So now this week I have Jessika Klingspor. She is a Swedish entrepreneur. I had the pleasure of meeting her when I was in Barcelona because we both spoke at a women's leadership conference. So I love these kind of things because this is a great opportunity to meet people all the way in a different country and bring the world back to my show. So I love that. But before we get into that interview, I also want to take a moment to thank our sponsor, Elevated CPA, for continuing to sponsor the show every week. Right. Well, thank you, Elevated CPA, for sponsoring our show every week. If you have a small business and don't feel like doing your taxes because they're very complicated, and if you have multiple businesses, they become even more complicated, definitely think about reaching out to him and, getting their services. So anyway, let me talk a little bit more about Jessika. So when I first met her, it was at this conference, and oh my God, her energy is just this kind of energy that draws you to her. So, and once I started talking to her, it was an immediate thing where I was like, oh my God, I really just have to get to know this woman more. So not only is she an entrepreneur, she's done many different things throughout her life. And she had an event company in the past. She's been an entrepreneur for over 20 years, but now she's actually working with combining Nordic innovation with Barcelona's I've just lost my train of thought. Ecosystem. That's what I was trying to say. So that's an interesting concept to me. And I have to be honest, I understand it on a very high level understanding, but I am so excited to deep dive into what that really means. And then she's also doing some work with the women's sailing team. So we're going to really get into this conversation. So anyway, without further ado, let's bring Jessika. Well, good morning or good evening. I'm like losing time, my track of time. Thank you for joining us from Barcelona.
Oh, thank you so much, Kalpana. This is so exciting, and what an introduction.
Oh, well, I mean, it's well deserved. And I knew, and I heard you speak at that conference, that I don't think we connected until after you spoke, if I remember correctly. And I know that I had such an amazing experience in Barcelona just because you were a Barcelona native and I got to hang out with you for a little bit and you were able to show me some things around town that, I wouldn't have gone to. I remember spending my birthday with you and a bunch of lovely ladies last year, and that was so wonderful.
Yeah, but it was amazing. I can't believe it must have been exactly 1 year because it was in October, right?
It was October, yeah. My birthday's the 28th, so it was exactly a year. I believe we had a beautiful full moon on that evening, and we were at
Yes,
this
we did.
club. It was such a beautiful evening.
Yeah, well, yeah. Are you coming back to Barcelona and speaking soon? I mean,
Yeah, I would love to actually. I just hit something and made everything shake. But I would love to. I really need to get back there. I've been promising you a visit for a while, so definitely I'm going to do it at some point soon. But let's talk about your story because it is so interesting. So maybe we'll just start with your events company because I feel like that may be where everything started for you. Your entrepreneur.
well, yes, it started with that I have this travel bug, actually, and I love traveling since I was a kid. And I started my career in hospitality and management in hotels, in big 5-star hotels. And first, that was like I was traveling, that the whole world came past me, and I met all these lovely people there, got to know the world from a hotel. And then I started to take that step out and started to work with corporate travel. And I also brought my clients to destinations and we did corporate events there. And that was all exciting because you could also dive deep into the culture of each destination and you met a lot of interesting people. And, my base then was, I'm born in Sweden. So I moved pretty quickly after studies up to Stockholm, to the capital, because I'm from the south in Malmö. And so that was my base through many, many years. And traveling with this client brought me to Barcelona. 1999, it was the first time for the Formula One Grand Prix.
Oh.
And that all that circus around the Formula One I just loved it because I love fast cars, adrenaline.
We get along.
We have that in common as well. And and I've actually also driven Formula Ford on the racetrack in Sweden. So that was like a dream to me to come and see the Formula One. And then back in those days, we only had earplugs. They didn't change the engines. So it was really eargasms, so to speak, sitting there watching it. Was amazing. And there was also something about Barcelona I could pick up in the air that was quite, inspiring and tickling. I'm born half Swedish, half Spanish. So my father is from Spain, but I never lived and grew up here. So that was also, I've always been curious to come and stay in Spain and speak the language and learn it here, not from a distance. And so the whole thing about Barcelona, sort of something that stayed in me. And I came back the second time, it was even more convinced. And the third time, also on Formula One, I took a decision on the plane back that it's now or never. I was newly divorced. I didn't have kids. I only had myself to take responsibility for. So I was thinking, I don't ever want to regret something later in life, that to sit and think back, what if I did that and blah, blah, blah. So I went to my boss the next day and I came home from Barcelona. I said, I'm going to move to Barcelona. And he was like in shock. Wow, what are you going to do there? Did you get a job? No, but you have family there, right? No, I don't have family there in that city. No. But who do you know then? I don't know anyone. but it was like magnetic that I was convinced I had to go and check out if I could start a new life there from scratch. And that is actually one of my better decisions. And then it was an interested introduction I had, because I got a job in a Spanish event agency. And, also when you dare to take a decision, there is, a chain reaction of sequences that, the universe is like helping you to unfold into the new place. So actually, before I landed on the airport, I was called up by my ex-employer called to an event agency in Barcelona and say, hey, now this woman is coming and you have better get an interview with her straight away. So go get her before somebody else get her. And then I didn't really do the research, and I didn't know about the culture thing, that there was a huge gap between salaries in the north and salaries here. So I thought that he was pulling my leg. And I said, thank you, but no thank you. And a week later, I sort of got the, check on things. And he called me up again and said, could we have a lunch? And I was thinking, okay, let's have a lunch. I have to change my mindset. If I go with the approach that he could be my sponsor instead of thinking that I get a lower salary, because I didn't want to go back to Sweden. I really wanted to be here. And so I was thinking, okay, this guy can sponsor my living and also my networking to get into how is the actual event business going on in Barcelona. So it could be my ticket into the market. And so
I love that. What a great mindset shift to think of it that way, because really that is, I think right now I'm just realizing how many more similarities that you and I have than I even realized, which is why I love doing this show, because we know each other, but we don't dive into these conversations. So many similarities. I thought the same way when I started coming to California and I had no source of income and I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And I was like, let these little odds and ends things that I'm doing just sponsor my living expenses till I figure it out. So that's beautiful.
Yeah, so instead of going to think like you feel ripped off or you're,
right,
creating from lack, instead of thinking the other way around, that I'm doing this for me, I choose it, and then it turns around actually. And that was, but it was also this employer, he didn't pay my commissions. It was not a sunshine story. And it actually ended pretty badly, that because I have questioned him really like this and he convinced me to stay. Then when we finally should sit down and have this talk, he fired me. And I was like, but I'm Swedish, I cannot be fired. I'm doing my job, like I didn't really get it. But he really...
let's back up. In Sweden, you can't get fired?
Yes, but I mean, if you're working like with a Swedish mind, you have such a high moral of standards to work, which I brought with me. So I didn't understand when he said that I was fired for what. And he said, I cannot have somebody here with, questioning me. And so he just wanted to get he wanted to keep the clients that I put inside his agency and not pay what he actually owed me. But it was a good trigger, because if I would have stayed, I would have maybe become comfortable. Instead, I started my own company. I was thinking, oh, you're not messing with just anyone. I'm going to set up my own business and do it from there. And thanks to that, I think it was, I was catapulted into the business in Barcelona.
That's amazing. And I love how you look at it like, you know what? That's fine. I'm going to do it myself, because there's a lot to be said for that when somebody kind of screws you in a way. And I had a similar experience when I was interviewing for jobs once I finished my residency, and I was offered a job that was so ridiculously low. And then I watched that guy drive off in a Porsche that was more than my salary that he was offering me. And it was in that moment I thought, I don't know how to start a medical practice, but I'm pretty sure I could figure it out. And I did. And that first year, I quadrupled the income that he was going to offer me.
Wow, well done.
Yeah. And
I'm not surprised, though, from what I know from you. I'm not surprised.
We have to believe in ourselves. So kudos to you to say, you know what, I'm not putting up with that. That's amazing. So then you're in your own business. Did it go perfectly easily, or were there?
Yeah, I started because the positive thing was that all my old colleagues in Sweden, they wanted to be my clients because we wanted to continue to work together. So that bridge that I could actually do something that I had clients potential to bring to this new country, that was the key for me to use, because I also knew what their expectations. So I
Okay.
had an advancement on the local agencies, because they thought that, to go to all the tourist traps was enough. But actually from the north, it was kind of an elite corporate travel elite. So I started to combine Barcelona because it's a place of contrasts. We have the mountains, the sea, the night, the day, the culture. There's a wine region outside the corner. I mean, in those days, 20 something years ago, Barcelona was a cultural epicenter. And Barcelona is a very emotional city. And, since, it's full of senses here that you
So
can
what do you
play on.
mean by that? Can you expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, it's like it's a playground where you can, we have the gastronomy that is top. We have a wine region outside here. We have, all the flavors that Barcelona is offering. And since they were hosting the Olympic Games 92, they sort of really understood how to make the best out of this world city, like a legacy. So people started to come for the culture. I mean, they started off with this big event so that everybody was, like the spotlight was on Barcelona, and people got interested and they started to come. And I mean, I have had a personal transformation living here for 23 years. And also the city has had a transformation. I mean, from cultural epicenter, it has evolved into an innovation hub, one of the most fast growing in Europe. So it's not all about the culture is there and that is surrounding activities. We have attracted one of the, biggest Mobile World Congress is the biggest telecommunication fair in the world, actually.
Wow.
And Smart City, World Expo. There is, 87 trade fairs in 52 weeks, more or less.
Wow. Wow. It's interesting because I've been to Barcelona a few times and I love it. There's something, like you said, it's an emotional city. There's something you can feel, I think, when you're there. It's hard to describe. And it's just now I'm hearing more and more about it. I think this is your way to get me to come back.
Oh, but of course, in the music, we have, the Spanish touch, but also all the international stars are coming. I mean, Madonna, Robbie Williams, and all these. It's creating emotion.
And you saw Madonna in concert.
Yes, I did. Well, it's actually the fourth time, and I must say that this last one, she is superior than all the other shows, actually.
Wow.
Well, maybe not the first with the gold chair in 80. When was it? 89. But now this was really wow.
That's amazing.
Talking about legacy, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. So, and the weather is also really nice in Barcelona, pretty much the majority of the year. I feel like it's very similar to California in a lot of ways. I mean, it's got the mountains, the ocean, and the climate is pretty temperate. I mean, the weather's really, I don't know if it's nice all year round. When I was there in October, the weather was beautiful.
Yes, now the climate change is a little bit shaky everywhere in all the corners of the world. But normally we had, I think it is like 355 Sundays, and the rest is, something like that. But it has been raining more intensely parts of the year, and then we don't have any. But it's a little bit like this everywhere, I think.
There's a freedom. There's a sense of freedom that I feel that I sense when I am in Europe, but maybe more even in Barcelona than in other places I've been. One of the things that I loved was when there's a park. I don't remember.
Parque Güell, the Gaudi Park.
And then there was a little area where you go up the stairs and there was like I don't want to say a rooftop, but there was a little area that people were dancing salsa. I remember, I believe it was a Sunday. And then in the morning, everybody's just dancing salsa. It was the most fun thing to watch.
Wow. I know you didn't see the Catalan dance Sardana then, because that is funny to watch. I shouldn't
Oh,
say
okay.
funny because it's a very cultural tradition, but I could never really figure out how they are jumping, and they are not jumping at the same time, and they are counting jumps. You haven't seen
Oh,
that?
no, I haven't seen that.
But
Okay.
every Sunday in front of the cathedral
Okay.
in the Barrio Gotico, you can go and have a look at that. It's
Okay.
quite
Well, this will be
fun.
on my agenda for next time I come to
Yeah, they
Barcelona.
dance in circles, and it's old people, small kids, and it's very mixed. So
Yeah.
that is
Well,
also
that's
fun to
awesome.
watch.
At least I
Yeah,
feel like we have a little better flavor of what Barcelona is about now from you, you know? It's so different when a tourist goes and sees it. I mean, we can appreciate things, but for me, I feel like I have to go back over and over and over to the same place because I experience something new every single time I go. And gosh, if you're able to explore it with somebody local, like when I
oh
was
god,
hanging out with you for a little bit, it was so much better. So I feel like that's what I need to do is just come back and just, we'll make all kinds of fun plans.
now but the door is open for you,
I would
Kalpana.
love it. I would love it.
Yeah,
And then, so let's talk a little bit about your transition from that event space now
yeah.
into, because did you transition immediately into what you're doing now, or were there some other detours?
No, I was running my agency until 1 year ago, 20 years. I had
That's what I
my
thought.
own event agency, and it first it was only Barcelona, then it became in 7 destinations in Spain.
Hmm.
But it was also when I was building up my dream, it was starting to get really well there in 2007, 8, and then hit the world economic crisis, and that was tough. And then because you can move, yeah, I had to let go of the office and employees and work alone and triple as much as before, but then work it up again. So around 2010, it was flying again. But then it's when I started to not feel so fine. And I was so focused externally on just endless profit chase to build it up, build it up, build it up again. Because when you start something, it's difficult to, slow down if you're self-employed. But I was not listening to signals because I have a very strong motor, and that can also be your enemy sometimes if you don't listen to it. Because I just did because I could, and then it just hit me that I had a big tumor in my colon, and I'm
Oh,
so convinced that So I was diagnosed with this cancer, and it was taken out very quickly. I was
wow.
very lucky to be finding this doctor. I had a private insurance, and so I always say that I only had cancer for 5 days that I knew, because it only took 5 days from I got the diagnosis till they operated me.
Okay, so they were
But
able to get it all out, or?
they couldn't take it all out, and then there was I actually said to my doctor, well, I have a big group coming of 800 people in 1 month. I can't cancel it because it's impossible, they are coming. And he just said, well, just maintain that mindset and you will be there greeting this group. And that was good that he was saying this to me, because I kept that in. I didn't even have time to reflect that I could even die. And that came later. I greeted the group. They arrived. I was there with my corset, keeping it all together.
How many
It was a
days after
little.
surgery was this?
This was 1 month after the surgery.
Whew.
Yeah, I know. That was crazy. But after they left, I just fell apart. So I just collapsed, actually. And then I had to take a time out for, I think it was over a year, 1.5 years. I couldn't really work. And then I started to work on me instead. That why did I push myself so hard and go to the bottom of all that? So, there is absolutely before and after the cancer. And I started to feel like after being cured, I started to feel more sick than I was before. Than I was, because
Do you think it's because, and I don't know, I feel like there's so much trauma that we
yeah,
store from all this, like over pushing ourselves and all of these things that you actually, I had a similar thing too. I think I felt more sick later purging these
yes.
things than maybe during the time where I had the cancer.
Yeah, it was like I was just holding and resisting it. And then when I let go, it came like a mental hangover,
Whew.
like a and so that was a transition too. and to come back to myself. And, you know, everything got like capsized. What are my values, aligning, what am I doing? I was questioning everything. And of course, that is a tough chapter to face it. And there is also a lot of resistance in that. And because we don't want to go through all that, we don't want to feel maybe this. And now I'm already fixed, so I should be fine. But no, there are no shortcuts through this. And so I really started to work with myself and therapy, and also reconnecting back to my, you know, inner self, my higher self, because I've always been on a spiritual path. But with, you know, looking in the mirror towards backwards, I could see clearly that I've lost the connection with my higher self because of all the external looking. I was not looking inside at all.
So how did you know, just because I think our audience will want to know, how did you know that you lost the connection with your higher self?
Well, analyzing what has happened. And I could, you know, looking back also, who was I when I grew up as a kid? I was very much in connection with spirits. And for example, one time was 98. I was, that was during my divorce, and I got a promotion working, and I was thinking, this is not making me happy. And I listened to myself, and I resigned, and I bought a ticket to Asia, and I was traveling in Asia 6 months and went to a Buddhist temple to practice Vipassana meditation, insight meditation. And there I was really getting more deep in and in connection. And later on, when I moved to New York, that was really big help, because I was remembering everything I was practicing in the monastery.
Okay.
And to live in a tough city can be a tough city, New York. But then I was maintaining that connection. But when you set up a business and you have such a huge responsibility towards so many directions, I sort of, that's where I lost it had to do with profit chase, and that I was not aligning with my purpose and mission, because I hadn't really figured out then, 20 years ago, what was my purpose here on earth. Right. Just because my dream was to run a business, but maybe, you know, that is not sufficient.
Right. And I think we all get involved in that profit chase, I think, early on, because we don't know any better, and society really conditions us to like make money, etc. And of course you have to make money. There's nothing wrong with that. But then I think as we get older, we start to realize there's different ways we can make money. We can just chase profits, or we can find something that's deeply fulfilling to our soul, still make profits, and become more conscious about what we are putting out in the world, and being more conscious about what we are doing for ourselves. And I feel like that kind of segues into this conscious entrepreneurship discussion.
Yeah, and absolutely. And talking about energies and stuff, because I mean, money is a very good energy, because it can totally fuel a purpose.
Right.
But it needs to be linked to purpose to become that positive energy. Because if you don't have the purpose, then it's when you burn out. So I can see clearly when I lost my connection, because I was not linked to a higher purpose. And, you know, all my clients, they had a purpose to come here for different reasons. And their purpose was not enough for me. I was not aligning, because one day it was a football group, and the next day it was, you know, a Nike convention. And I couldn't just care less what color the swoosh should be on the next event. That was the stress factor, and that they were like, going all in for that. And I felt like, but there should be a little bit more to life than worrying about the swoosh color.
Yes.
You know, I'm just making it an example, but
right. Well, let's talk about that a little bit more for a second. Just when you were saying that you weren't connecting to your higher purpose, and that's why we burn out. So I want to just backtrack a little bit, because what I've seen in not only myself, but other people, when they are not connected to a higher purpose, it almost seems like there's something to prove from a lower vibrational energy. Hopefully I'm explaining that right. Meaning that you have to overwork, overdo. Everything's in this very hyper masculine energy of just output, output, output.
Yeah.
Whereas over the years, as I've like worked through my own shadows of the same problem, perfectionism, overworking, overdoing, over everything,
Mm-hmm.
I have recognized that there is really this point where when you feel this sense of fulfillment with what your purpose is in life, there is a different energy and a different balance. So, meaning that, yes, there are points now because I feel so connected to my purpose. I feel that, yes, there's masculine energy that prevails at certain points in time. Then I settle down. I mean, I've been in kind of a different energy the past couple of weeks where I haven't really pushed myself a whole lot. I just wait and receive for things to come to me. And some of my best ideas I find and some of my best stuff happens when I am taking time off.
Yes,
Again, these
just
downloads.
slowing down.
Yes.
Yeah, you slow down, you receive the downloads also. Because if
So
not, you don't have time to pay attention.
right. So I'm curious if you've had a similar experience maybe in your transformation or.
Now, I love that you're talking about frequencies and also this thing of masculine and feminine energies, because I mean, we are really in a shift in the world, and we are, leaving more further behind, but we are not out of it, from totally out of it. That old paradigm of, competition, do, sell, it's division, separation. Instead, now we are entering into the oneness where connection rather than competition and compassion and all this feminine energy. And the way I see it is that we become much more heart-centered. I mean, the feminine energy is in the heart, and the masculine energy is in the mind. And in the old paradigm, we were only in the mind, only up here. We haven't connected it.
Right.
So, I mean, how can we feel anything if we are only thinking? So it's coming more and more and more. And this also, these leaders of the new paradigm leading through vulnerability, and these men that dare to take out that vulnerability, their feminine energy. I mean, those are the real men, I believe. Wow.
Right.
That is like, it's so powerful.
100%.
And also the women who try to be like in the old paradigm, very trying to do it the masculine way. So we also lost our track a little bit, trying to be the men.
Exactly. I gave a talk on this in Estonia. It was actually entitled "Why Women Need to Learn, Women Need to Run More Nations and Businesses." That was my talk. And it really was going into exactly what you're talking about, because women in leadership positions, we often overcompensate with our masculine energy, this overdoing, this, all of that. And we lose our touch to our feminine qualities, which are actually superpowers. But because we're used to a patriarchal society for the most part, we are uncomfortable letting our feminine side show because we're deemed too emotional, we're deemed too this, we're deemed too that. It's all of these, things that are put upon us by society that are not really accurate. So that's what I want to, with these talks, I want to encourage more women to embrace their feminine energy, embrace their nurturing qualities, their vulnerability, all those things that make us women. They are actually very big skills in leadership.
Yeah. And the mind can be very ego-based. And the heart is heart. So, I mean, an ego can be good if it doesn't master your mind.
Exactly.
If it is supporting and fueling the rest, yes. So it's to keep that balance, like you say.
Yes.
And then we are just talking about this. I'm very passionate about inner development, and that the fact that there are so many movements now, and that also scientists are really doing research on these kind of woo-woo stuff. Like before it was like, what is that? It's like too spiritual but I mean, science is really the modern language of mysticism today. Right. And so you can actually bring it into the boardrooms. And there is this inner development goals framework that I'm working with. It's born in Sweden, but it's a global movement. It's like it's an open source we should leave the link afterwards in the episode, because I mean, this is really something for everyone to dive into, because you can apply it to private life, your personal life, and also into business.
Oh, wonderful. Okay. Yeah. We'll definitely put it on the, I'll have it on my YouTube channel and everything, everywhere the show goes. So in LinkedIn and everywhere. So that would be perfect. So yes, send me that. That'd be perfect.
Yeah, because it's addressing this thing that, that we are facing all these challenges in the world, like the Sustainable Development Goals that most people are familiar with, the UN goals.
Mm-hmm.
But those goals are only symptoms of what really is happening. They are not lifting up what is the root cause. So what is the root cause? It's actually us humans, and the way we are solving things is the problem. Because there are behavioral challenges, meaning that we have to change in order to reach them. And so the inner development goals was created to serve as the how to the what.
Interesting.
And it's very interesting. And it's a 5 dimensions. It's being, relating, collaborating, communication, and acting.
Okay.
And that is like with 23 skill sets that you can actually, we are all born with the same inner abilities, which is great, because that means that we can also train them, just like we are training our physical bodies. And you know how it is. If we go to the gym once, you don't get a 6-pack.
No. And we do. I think all of us really, as we start to evolve as conscious beings, we need to put just as much time into our inner development as we do our bodies. Now it's all the rage of this, working out is so commonplace. I think what will happen as as time goes on is people will put just as much emphasis on this inner development as they are on their working out and physical fitness.
No, absolutely. Because inner development leads to outer change.
Yes. So now I have a question. How did all this tie into what you're doing with the Nordic innovation and, with Barcelona's ecosystem? How did it sound? This was all maybe around the same time.
Yes, no, since 2019, I was initiating a project to the city council that I was addressing that. Well, actually, the front runners of innovation worldwide is up in the north, in the Nordic countries.
Okay.
And that I'm from Sweden. It's a small country, and Denmark, and the others are small countries, but as a unit, it's quite big. And so I wanted to bridge Nordic innovation talent and attract talent to Barcelona, because if talent comes, money comes too. And start to bridge that into the ecosystem. So we started with the Smart City World Expo in 2019. And since then we have had an ongoing collaborations that I bring conscious brands to Barcelona to establish them here. And now during the America's Cup, which is the first time we host America's Cup, and it's all again this kind of world event that Barcelona is an amazing city to host, but there is also a legacy connected, and there's a lot of business around these kind of things too. So apart from all the turnover, of course, that it is around a race like this, because it is full of sponsors, and it's like more Formula One on water nowadays, because it's it's about technology, so it's a showcasing of technologies too.
Wow.
And why I think it is so amazing this year, it's the first time in its history of 174 years there will be a women race.
Yes, I want to hear about this. When is that? Next
week.
Oh my goodness. I'm like, wow.
It's already, it's 2-month, it's partial. There is a youth race. The women race is starting next week. And then there is the full extension race. It all ends around end of October.
And it's sailing, right? It's the sailing?
It's sailing, but it's foiler sailing. So it's, have you seen this, that is like almost up in the air above the surface? They're flying.
That would be so really cool to watch.
Yeah, it is really cool. And so for the first time in history, women will sail and compete side by side in this masculine contest. So it's a huge milestone.
That's amazing.
For gender equality. And we will do panel discussions around it and discuss, because now it's happening, but now the big work is starting. What are we going to do with this to make women even more equal to men in these kind of circumstances. So
that's amazing.
yeah, it is amazing.
I can't wait to see what I feel like in the next 10 years, we're going to see so many changes around this. Again, when I did my talk, the statistic is that for us to, equalize the gender gap, it will take 108 years at the pace that we're going right now. But I have this weird thing that just came to me because, we've seen so many changes in technology and everything in the past, like year or two. We've probably done more evolving in the technological sectors with AI and everything that probably is the equivalent to 10 years. I feel like in the next 2 years, we're going to see so many changes. And I wouldn't doubt if the gender gap was one of these things that just started to close a lot more quickly as well.
I think so too. And it's part of sustainability. It's like, and I think that we are becoming more and more aligned with sustainability. It's not something happening somewhere. We are all being affected of it. And I mean, sustainability is a hot market to actually work and integrate sustainability to your business plan.
So let's talk about that for a minute, just for people who may not know what that means in relation to what you're talking about. Just if you can explain that to us.
Yes, I mean, it's also aligning with values and everything, but, to actually understand what is going on in the world, stating with the 2030 agenda of the challenges that we have to, tackle in order to reach those goals. But my big hope, you're talking about technology, it's going really fast, but again, our inner technology, our consciousness is also rising. We are entering into unity consciousness. And that if we all start to work and evolve our inner abilities, start with self, everything that starts with self leads to global change. And if we only think about ourselves for a moment, that we can evolve, then if we plug into the collective, we can really make a leap. And I think it will go a lot faster than if, I don't know these calculations. I think it's based on old, traditional, historical. But if we, instead of thinking frequency, I think that people will look for their own purpose. They will look for their core truth in sustainability, like inner sustainability, outer sustainability, and businesses, if it is tech, if it is whatever, supply chain, agriculture, it has to be aligned with, so we don't destroy our world anymore. And there are coming laws into vigor that you have to, to cut greenwashing and greenhushing away. And then there is also a business there. I mean, I'm working with a Swedish startup called Verify, and they are the first in the world actually to be accredited by a third organ to verify company claims, according to the laws here in Europe. And so the companies that have 500 employees and more, by law, they have to go through this verification process, like auditing. But also the whole supply chain, their providers, the small, medium-sized companies, they will have to go green as well, because if not, they will not choose them. So it's a filter, this thing that you have to actually, be aligned to take care of our planet.
100%. And even as a consumer, like not even in the business sector, I've gotten very, very conscious about who I do business with. So I don't just do things just like I used to do. I didn't used to think about anything. Now I won't shop at certain places because I don't agree with the way they run their business or treat their employees or whatever it might be. I won't shop at certain places. I won't, I won't buy certain things because they're not, good for the environment or maybe whatever it is. I really, as much as I can, slowly but surely look into companies, and either I am in alignment with the way they're doing things or not, and I choose not to spend my money with those companies.
No, because we have so much power as a collective, like the massa, because only by choice of what we are actually buying in the grocery store, we can set, unethical businesses out of play, and we can choose what is healthy
Right.
for
We
us.
think we're powerless sometimes, but we actually have more power. And, it's just the simple things like oh God, so many things drive me crazy when I see them. But even like airlines, if they're not kind to the people and that are boarding the airlines, I won't fly with that airline. I'll choose to fly
No,
with a different airline. Hotels. There's so many places where we have choices. And if we all align with a higher consciousness and unity consciousness and look at the way employees are being treated and all of those things, we will make different decisions on who to do business with. And
absolutely.
my wish is that some of these big corporate paradigms that are really toxic get changed.
Like the whole food sector, we can, as private persons, really affect what's happening in the world.
Right.
I mean, and I don't want to think about it too much because how we are treating all the animals and, yeah.
Right. Yes.
And we can choose more plant-based and.
Right. So much needs to change, but I think these are just really important. Again, it's like you said before. I think that once we start with this elevation of our own consciousness and connection with our own higher self, if you just start with exploring that, so many of the rest of the things that we're talking about really just fall into place. And I do feel that the universe, higher source, whatever you want to call it, often will send us messages kind of quietly in the beginning, and I've heard this said by somebody else and I can't remember who it was, but it's like, you'll get these messages quietly in the beginning. And I bet if you look back to before you got sick, there were probably little whispers of something like slow down. And because I know I had them too, and I didn't listen. And they say that the feminine whispers, the masculine comes and knocks it down. So I feel like you and I, it's like, so I feel like you and I had whispers before our cancer showed
Oh my God,
up.
yes.
I know I did in retrospect when I look. I refused to listen. Then it was the big boom that came. I almost died. And then it was like, and then you had to stop working. You had to deal with all this.
You went through it as well.
Then you come out of that with a different level of consciousness, a different level of understanding of how you almost have no choice. At that point, I felt like I didn't really have a choice, but to make a change and align with some higher purpose. It was almost like, I don't know, I just knew that there wasn't a choice. I just had to make big changes. And that's when I started my big journey of change.
Yes, and that's also coming into this conscious entrepreneurship, that we also have to introduce mindful leadership into business, and also self-leadership, of course, with, I can highly recommend meditation. Has really changed my life for me. Some get really like hooked in on yoga, more physical. But I mean, to when you start your day and you wake up, to create your own little ritual in the morning to, set you on, connect with your higher self. And so you're ready for the day. I always set an intention for the day, for example. And I set an intention for, even for this podcast, I set an intention. And so I'm really, that you raise your frequency through setting intention.
You really do. And, this may be a little off topic, but I don't think it necessarily is. So I was on the plane because I was traveling, from Florida a few weeks ago, last week. So I watched that little cartoon called Inside Out 2.
I don't know which one it is.
So, I've heard it was really cute because it had such a deeper message. And basically it's about a young teenage girl and she has all her emotions. So the emotions are actually characters in this movie. So you have anger, sadness, joy.
Okay.
So at one point, joy, during puberty, joy goes away. And Joy says, maybe as we get older, we don't need joy. But that one statement, because she was so sad because she felt like, this girl, was lost in all the other emotions, anxiety, all this. And I loved that section of this little cartoon because I thought to myself, where did we get that dumb idea that as we get older, we don't get to have joy? So I was saying this because of the intention. Most days, my intention lately, just because of where I am right now, is to experience more joy.
Yeah, that's an amazing intention.
Whatever that means. Like some days it's snuggling with my dog for a few minutes. Some days it's walking outside, whatever it is. But now I feel that the world is more vibrant because my intention for the past few weeks has been to experience more joy. I don't know, I keep having the same one, but for whatever reason, I feel like I need to experience more joy. So anyway, what was your intention this morning?
I've been meditating a lot of on trust, not trust for myself, but trust that things will unfold for the greater good. There is a lot of things now going on in my life that is like a little bit navigating in the unknown. And so I really have to tune in on that trust, not to get overwhelmed, and stay in the present moment, because the present moment, I have to bring myself back to the present again and again and again, because we tend to be either in the future or in the past.
Right.
But
That
where
may
I
be
can really
why-
find the trust is in the present moment.
It's where you find everything is in the present moment. It's where you
Yeah.
find joy, because when I was so stuck
That's-
in the future, which has been most of my life, I've been stuck in the future with goals and ambitions and all those things, or partially on the past, revisiting things that don't need revisiting. But if you stay in the present, like you're saying, you will find all the things we're looking for remain and exist in the present. The trust, the joy, all of it.
Yeah. Exactly. No, so it's calming me to take myself back to the present moment. And when we are running so fast, also we are working self-employed. We tend to always be a little bit ahead of things instead of slowing down and waiting for your soul to catch up.
That's a good point. Slow down, wait for your soul to catch up. That deserves repeating. Slow down and wait for your soul to catch up. I love that.
Yeah.
The other thing, I had a friend of mine, I believe, told me a while ago that if you're in the present is where you're calm and peaceful. She said if you're in the future, that's called anxiety.
Yeah,
If you're in the
it
past,
is. Yeah.
it's depression. And it was just such an interesting way for me to look at it, because I really thought about it. When I get depressed, I feel like I'm stuck in the past looking at something that happened before. And it's like, what's the point of looking at that? I mean, yes, we have something we can learn from it, of course. But if
Absolutely.
it's anxiety because it's all the unknowns. And it's just interesting when you think about that way. So my big thing right now is just staying in the present, because unfortunately, the way I'm built, I'm always somewhere there. 5 years from now, a year from now, 6 months from now.
Same.
The only way that I can make sure I stay here is by focusing on joy, because that doesn't exist I can revisit joy from the past. I don't know what it is in the future, but I can embrace what I find right now. I feel like, to me, that's the way I ground myself into the present. And it may not be the same for everybody, but I think that we all owe it to ourselves to find what that is that keeps us staying connected to what's happening right now.
Yeah, no. And when you say this about depression in the past, I mean, I read somewhere that depression, the antidote is expression. That is the thing. Yeah, I like that, because I mean, we are creators.
Right.
And it's when I start to create, I stop to worry, actually.
Right. It's an easy place to go. Like, we're in this creative space, and then, you want to launch something, and then there's so much unknown around it that it's very easy to get into that ambiguity of, oh my God, what's going to happen? So yeah. It's really cool. I want to kind of, we still have a few minutes left, but I kind of want to really give you the floor to really talk about what I know we just said we're not going to talk about the future. So I almost hate to, now I'm going to ask you a question about the future, but what are your intentions moving forward right now with this, new business enterprise that you've got going on? I know you've said that your goal is to, stay more focused, stay in the present, but what do you see for yourself moving forward? Let's say moving forward instead of in the future.
Now I'm really finding my tribe in these days through these development goals. I'm a co-founder of this IDG Barcelona Business Hub, and together with strong partners, we have created this platform that we are attracting like-minded people that also are driven by this thing of the inner journey. and to make a change, an outer change, but through going inside. So I'm very intrigued about finding these people that we can make this shift and make a big leap with into the future and make good change. I mean, it could be tech for good, or since I'm connecting this Nordic innovation, things that, entrepreneurs that needs to be helped, like women, this women empowerment and empower how women can thrive in businesses. This is what I would really want to be a part of. So, yeah.
I love that. And, it's interesting. So I think we have some more connection points. You and I have to talk. I don't know if I've even told you about some of the ideas that I have. I'm just going to leave our audience hanging because I'm not going to say it on air, but we'll have to connect afterwards because I can't remember if I told you about an idea that I have that I'm planning to launch next year. So.
No, you didn't.
Oh, okay.
You always have something new.
Yeah,
up
so
your sleeve.
I need to fill you in on that off air, and then maybe, because sometimes I meet people and I just know there's something more than just, of course it's a beautiful friendship, and this interview has confirmed to me how energy is so specific, meaning I met you, I didn't really know all that much about you, but it was like, boom, like that's how the energies went, right? Mm-hmm. Now, after this interview, I'm understanding why, because there's so many synergistic points that we have that I didn't realize in the beginning, which is one of the major reasons I love doing this show, because I get to find all those juicy details out. And now with what you just said, it's something that I've been spinning around in my mind, and I think that we may need to collaborate together on this. So,
I'm open to listen. I'm always open to listen to these kind of things and projects that we could.
Yes, and
spiral ahead.
And for all of you out there, I will divulge it when it's ready. So they're all like, "What is she?"
Okay, we will be waiting, Kalpana.
I'm going to keep them all waiting and intrigued. They're like, "What is she talking about? What is she doing?" So,
yeah.
But, I can't wait. It's such a pleasure. I feel so grateful to have been in Barcelona and met you. I will figure out how I can get back. Maybe there's, maybe you have to send me some amazing events that are happening, and I'll plan a trip around one of those or something. I'll figure it out.
Yeah. I would love to come to San Diego.
Yes,
and
please.
With you.
Please. Yes, I would love that as well. But, just goes to show you that the world is a smaller place as we start getting to know people around the world. And I'm just grateful to have you on the show today. So thank you. Thank you so much for sharing all your beautiful pearls of wisdom and your experience. And I can't wait to see you in person and give you a big hug, hopefully sometime soon.
Same here, Kalpana. Let it be soon. Thank you for having me on the show. I'm really grateful for it.
Oh, so glad to have you. We'll see you soon, okay?
Thank you. Bye.
Well, I hope you guys enjoyed that. She is just such a amazing, amazing woman. I have to say, every time I see her, she kind of makes me want to move to Barcelona sometimes because I just love her energy. I'm like, okay, I'm there. So I will definitely tell you guys that's when I have everything really formulated about what my big plans are for the future. It's exciting, and it's about women's empowerment and leadership and business development. So I will definitely share that when the time is right. So next week I have another guest. We got into some frequency conversations today. I've gotten into some frequency conversations with a past guest, Danielle Lindbergh, who was my high school friend, probably a few months ago. And next week, I'm going to be interviewing Sabine Messner. So we're going to be talking about how frequency can actually improve your health with some amazing new devices that are available. And, she's going to share her personal story about what she's gone through in her life and with her husband, and how this technology has actually changed her life. So I can't wait to see you guys next week for another episode of Gloves Off. And until then, have a fabulous, fabulous week.